Welcome to the video on best practices for developing multiple choice questions or MCQs part 2. In part 1, we learned about 3 important best practices that help enhance the quality of our questions. These practices include making the questions clear and focused, ensuring options are similar and parallel to avoid confusion, and testing the main ideas and lasting skills students need. Now, let's dive into the remaining best practices that will further improve our MCQs. Now, let's discuss our 4th best practice. Include incorrect options that reveal common misconceptions or errors. By incorporating these types of incorrect options, we can help identify and address students' misunderstandings. This not only clarifies their learnings, but also allows educators to gain insight into the areas where students may struggle. Let's look at this question. The distractors are not well designed and do not address common misconceptions. The previous question has been rephrased so that the distractors can provide insights into students' misconceptions. If the students believe that preservation can happen only through refrigeration, they would choose preserving food. If students lack an understanding of the fact that refrigeration cannot help in preserving foods, then they might opt for option B, which suggests that making pickles with mangoes and sauces from tomatoes can help with preservation. If they believe that washing and cutting of vegetables will not only help with eliminating germs but also preserves food for a longer time, then there is a possibility of them choosing option D. These distractors have been defined in a way that we are able to identify students' understanding levels based on which option they have chosen, thus making it a question that helps in diagnosing understanding. Next, make sure that each multiple choice question has one clear and correct answer. The correct answer should be obvious and distinct without overlapping with or being too similar to the other options. This clarity helps students identify the right answer confidently. Let's examine this question. The issue with this question is the overlap between the correct option and another option. In this case, the correct option D overlaps with option C or vice versa. This can confuse students. So how can we make this question better? By providing only one correct option. The next best practice is to use engaging and relevant content in the stimulus of a question. This not only makes the question more interesting for students, but also helps them relate to it better. A good stimulus makes the question feel more real and grabs students' attention, keeping them focused and involved. How can we improve this question by adding something interesting? Creating a real-life example or context with images can help engage 7th grade science students more effectively with the question. Pause and answer this question. How will you improve this question? We can make the question better by adding interesting images. This makes the question more engaging and relevant. By seeing the images, students can choose the right option more effectively. Another important practice is to make sure the context in the MCQs is relatable for all students and free from any bias. This ensures that every student has an equal chance to understand and respond to the question. As we've discussed before, questions must be fair. Consider diversity, avoid bias, and be sensitive to all students. Don't use examples that are too familiar to some and avoid controversial topics unless they directly relate to what's being tested. Look at the example here. What do you think is the area of improvement in this question? The context is not relatable for grade 7 students in Andhra Pradesh. It introduces cultural and economic bias, which could confuse the students and affect their understanding of the question. Here, the question has been improved with a context that is relatable for grade 7 students in Andhra Pradesh. This makes the economic concept of supply and demand easier to understand without introducing any bias. Here are a few more examples and non-examples of fairness and sensitivity. To summarize, avoid using language that is specific to a gender or group. Use inclusive language that applies to everyone. Describe practices and behaviors in a way that is general and relatable to all. And in this video, we covered 4 best practices for developing MCQs. 4th, include incorrect options that reveal common misconceptions or errors. 5, ensure the correct option is accurate and doesn't overlap with the other options. 6, use noteworthy and interesting content and make sure the material grabs students' attention. 7 is to set context. It should be relatable and not have any bias. For easy recall, use the mnemonic commons. C is for making the question clear and focused. O is for making the options similar and parallel to avoid confusion. The first M in commons is to test the main ideas and lasting skills the students need. The second M in commons is to include incorrect options that reveal common misconceptions or errors. O is to ensure the correct option is accurate and doesn't overlap with other options. N is to use noteworthy and interesting content and make sure the material grabs students' attention. And S is to set the context. It should be relatable and not have any bias. So use this mnemonic commons for easy recall. C is for clear. O is for options which are parallel. M is for main ideas. Another M is for misconceptions. O is for options that are accurate. N is for noteworthy and interesting content. And S is to set context. Take a pause and answer this example question and check its quality by using the checklist. Looking at the checklist, we see that this question is good for testing how to measure the length of a pencil. The question is clear and there is a direct image or a diagram that helps the students. The distractors are well designed to identify common misconceptions and errors with only one correct answer. The context is relatable and free from any bias. So, we can say that this question has the traits of a high-quality MCQ. Here's how you can evaluate your multiple choice questions using the 7-point checklist. Step 1. Pick any 10 MCQs. Step 2. Apply the 7-point checklist. Step 3. Revise your MCQs based on the evaluation. By following these steps, you can ensure that your questions are clear, fair, and effective. Thank you all for watching the video on best practices while developing MCQ questions.